Okay. Thank you for being part of the Storage Field Day. Actually, thank you for having me as part of the Storage Field Day today. My name is Martin Merrell. I'm with StorageCraft. I'm a sales engineer. Now, we've had a whole bunch of build-up. I'm going to actually show you what the StorageCraft Cloud actually looks like, okay? And you're going to be able to see what it is that we can actually do. Now, it's going to be kind of a small scale. It's not like I've got 1,000 virtual machines that have been replicated into this cloud that I can bring up. But more than anything else, it's going to give you a little flavor for what it is that we can do. I'm going to be able to establish a VPN connection into this cloud. We'll be able to grab a file or two, and you'll be able to see that this is all happening in real time with the machine that we actually have launched in the StorageCraft Cloud, and you can see how that's all set up. So the cloud service is offered primarily through our MSP partner program. So it's our MSPs, they have their own partner portal they can log into to create cloud accounts and stuff like this. But it's offered, of course, through all of our VARs. But you're seeing it here through the portal that we normally offer for our MSPs. And this is what our cloud portal actually looks like. All right, it's any accounts that have been generated or created to show up right over here. And essentially, when you first log in, you got yourself a nice little dashboard with information about what you've got. I got 3 machines, currently replicated. They're actually spread across a couple different companies here.
What's a seed drive versus a BMR drive?
Great question. Yeah, seed BMR. So your seed drive, we can't always say that if you're sending lots and lots of data into the StorageCraft Cloud that it's not going to cause bandwidth or bottleneck type issues.
The
initial send of your data into the StorageCraft Cloud can be done by way of a physical drive. And so essentially, we will, if you want to sign up and you don't want to replicate
SCSI drives or USB drives,
they come as a USB drive. Just plug it in.
Azure. Azure only takes SCSI drives.
That's right. That's true.
Oh, is that right?
Well, SASE.
Yeah, well, we try to be a little bit more user-friendly than that when it comes right down to it. But anyway, yeah, so we'll send out that seed drive, and you can request, we offer a number of different sizes, 2 terabytes, 4 terabytes, 6 terabytes, 8 terabytes. You can request what you need, as many as you need, and we can throw as many machines on any of these different drives as you want to. When we create the replication process, our image manager application actually performs the seeding. It actually does it for us. It puts a little file on there that helps identify, which file goes to which, or which seed goes to which account and all that kind of thing. But you can send that in. That's the seed drive. The BMR actually stands for bare metal restored. This is the one that you get back from us when it's time to do recovery. Okay, so that's what the verbiage is there.
Sorry, just to check. So I'm assuming you have some form of an on-premises cache as well of some of the data as part of this?
Well, so yeah, if you want to call it your local storage where your backup images go to, your image repository, your
and then you're replicating from that rather than direct from the machine.
Yeah, and notice I say replicate. All right, we don't just send directly to the cloud. It's real important that you have your backup data there that you can use locally at all times. So. It's funny, I get people asking all the time, well, can I just back up directly to the cloud and not have to have the hardware on hand at home? But the answer is no, we want you to have that hardware. We want you to have those backup images there for quick restores. What are you going to do if you lose a file? You're really going to go into the cloud and try to, although you can with our cloud, it's actually pretty fast, but that type of thing. Good, that's a good question. Okay, so again, here we are. This is the partner or the cloud services portal. I've got a couple different companies here. Let's go ahead and if I click on the little plus sign next to ABC Company, you can see I've got one backup machine. One machine that's been backed up has been sent into the cloud, and of course this is representative of that entire image set for that machine. This is a Windows 12 server. Okay, and if I click on it, it gives me some information about the machine. If I want to see if there's a VM created for it, when I refresh this window, you can see that I do. I've actually started a virtual machine. Now I did this prior to joining the conference today so that we wouldn't have to wait for that VM to boot up. I've already created a VM and it's already booting. Now the process to create the VM is actually very simple. In place of this view, there's actually just going to be a little button that says Launch VM. So if it's just a matter of I want one machine booted up, I just click on Launch VM and then it'll come back and say, okay, well, what time do you want this machine to look like? And you'll select through the different recovery points that you have and select it and hit go, and it boots the machine up for you, and a couple minutes later it's up and running. That's kind of the idea here. All right. You'll notice that when I click on the machine, I can now scroll down below. Let's see if I can scroll this a little bit better. No, we're pretty much tight, and that's fine. Down below here, these are the different recovery points. Looks like I've only got one recovery point for this machine that I can restore from. All right, but let's say it's a matter of file and folder recovery. Let's say I've lost a file and I need to be able to restore that file. Well, I can actually come down here to this point in time, click on the plus sign. It'll actually show me the different snapshots for any volumes. Now, notice I've only got the C drive, but if I'm backing up data drives that are associated with it as well, those will also be broken out. I simply choose the volume that I'm interested in. I'm going to hit mount. Enter the password for my backup. All right, and right now I'm just showing you the file and folder recovery features that we've got. But it starts the mounting process right here. Once that mounting is complete, I'll be given the option to browse through that backup image set, find the file that I need, and restore it. There it is. So all I got to do is hit browse. And here's my file system. I have access to anything that's within that image now. If I just want to download my boot manager file, I go ahead and select it, create zip file, creates the file, and I can then download it. And that's file and folder recovery. So, on a very small level, that's the first thing that you might want to consider you can do within the StorageCraft Cloud. Okay, so all right, that's great. I would hope that you can get the data that you need, from the cloud when you need it, and of course we can do that. So there's my download option right there. But I'm sure what you're really talking about though is how do we gain access to this virtual machine once it's been booted? All right, so I have a machine that's failed. It's down. I mean, worse than that maybe it's a whole series of machines. Again, the tornado came, my facility is burnt to the ground, and it's time for me to launch these critical machines in the cloud. First thing you can do in a scenario like that is at your company level. Down here under networking, this is where you can actually set up all the parameters that are needed to get that environment built. All right. Let me direct your attention here to stuff that you can set up beforehand. Notice I said before that each machine within the cloud that's going to be booted up is going to be assigned its own private network. Okay. If you don't like the 192.168 scheme because you've got a much larger network than that, then you can of course modify that. And we offer support for not just the 192 private networking. We can also do the 172.16, the 10.0. So we can make that network as large as you actually need it. All right. So all you need to do is select that, modify it. You are going to be assigned your own subnet. All right. Again, if you don't like the actual network, even if you want to keep the 192 scheme, but I really hate 220, I can modify that, make it 223 or whatever. But in my case, I'm just going to leave it the way it is because I got my networking already set up. You'll also notice that right next to me over here, I've got the option to set up my VPN. Okay. I support the IPsec option. Like I said before, I've got OPN available to me. But then look at this over here. What actually enables us to be able to do this so well is the fact that you can request public IP addresses as needed and actually assign them to your firewall, okay, that's associated with the cloud. Now, you go, okay, that's great. Where do I get that IP address from? Well, guess what? You can reserve that ahead of time right down in here and say, let's go ahead and add an IP address. It'll go ahead and give you one, and then you can automatically apply. Now, in terms of testing, you were mentioning, can we test our backup? You can set this up as soon as you start getting data into the StorageCraft Cloud. Jump in here, set up your network, give it a shot. Okay, if it's an IPsec configuration, go ahead and create a VPN between your local router and the StorageCraft Cloud. Reserve yourself an IP address so that you've got something that can be applied to our firewall here. And once you've got all that set up, build a virtual machine, see if you can attach to it from a local machine, and you've essentially tested it. If you want to do a larger scale test, and it's something that's actually very much like a failover scenario where we're going to be bringing up a bunch of machines, even when it comes to this actually being an actually real-time major scenario, we can actually build ourselves a virtual machine policy. Let me select this. This has actually got two machines associated with it, so I can show this a little bit better. So over here with this demo lab account, you notice I've got two different machines. Again, if I click on networking, same options apply, but if I click on this virtual machine policy, this is going to help when it actually comes time to really start building my data center in the cloud or build my server farm again. When I hit this virtual machine policy, it brings up this window which lists all of my machines down this side. Now I've already created my little pokey virtual machine policy, but all machines now that are associated with this account are going to be listed down here, and I simply drag them out into this workspace, and I can draw lines between them. You know, for example, my file server here is dependent on my Windows 12 server here. You know, this might be my domain controller or whatever. And so we can actually create these dependencies, which will define which machines boot up first, which ones boot second, et cetera, and all you have to do when it's time to make this work, and it looks like my screen has decided that it doesn't want to. Okay, all right, so my display is hiding my option, which is right down here, to hit go. All right, but all I need to do really is just hit go. Can I not scroll that? Yeah, it's not letting me scroll. But so I know that everybody here has a great imagination, and you can just imagine my little my little start VM policy option right down there at the bottom. But you know, this is where the real power of the cloud begins to show. We can in a single click, we can go ahead and bring up an entire environment. They're all going to be connected together, okay, because we've set our networking up ahead of time. And as soon as we start our VPN and start the network, we're going to have access from outside of our private network now, so that our outside users can gain access to us. So let me go ahead and show you how I do that now. All right, let me show that that Open VPN option. Oh, that was fun. Let's do this here. Get back in. All right, managed service providers, cloud services. Okay. All right. So like I said before, I had one machine already booted, so we can quickly demonstrate, you know, how we can connect into the cloud. Let's go ahead and refresh that. There we go. So my machine is actually booted up. If I click on View, it literally brings up a remote desktop connection from our portal into that machine. All right. Now, as you can see, ahead of time, I've actually gone ahead and said, all right, what is my current IP address? It has assigned me the 192.168.220.100. If I look at my account, get a load of this, hit my networking. Wow, look at that. So my 192.168.220.0 network. All right. So that's all taken care of. Yep, I'm on the right network. That's fantastic. I've already set up an Open VPN connection.
So, I mean, do you establish like number of CPUs, DRAM, those, you know, characteristics of the VM that would like you to run a certain level of performance and things of that nature?
That's a good question. So the answer is yes, we do that. If you do not request those things up front, if you don't request a certain amount of RAM, a certain number of processors up front, then the machine, based on how it's configured, will boot with the recommended settings. Okay, so if we're talking about an Exchange server, for example, it's going to be booting with probably dual core or something along that line. We'll assign it so many processors, 8 gigs of RAM by default, and that's what's going to be automatically assigned. If you need more, absolutely request more, and we can have that set aside. So when you're first setting this up and you're like, okay, I'm replicating 10 machines, you know, this machine, you know, they all have their own little purpose. There's 5 of them that I already know I've configured at higher than the recommended specs. What you do then is you create a support ticket, you know, just right up front, and we have a quick conversation with our support group saying, hey, I just created an account, here's these machines. When these machines boot, I need, you know, these resources allocated, and we will set that up so that.
And the I/O resources for those virtual machines is what? I mean, you know, some of these guys run with fiber channels, some run with NAS, some run with DAS. I mean,
well, it's a question of, if it's not impolite, what is the underlying cloud? Is it an OpenStack implementation with?
Yes, it is with the self-distributed storage. Yep.
That was where I was going.
Storage.
Yeah. Yep. That's what we deal with.
Do you do any SLAs around IOPS or latency?
I can't say that I know what those would be.
Okay.
Yeah, good question though. Yeah, excellent question.
So I'm not sure if the question was aired before, but is the cloud hosted by your company, or are you kind of leveraging bare metal services from another provider?
Yeah, great question. StorageCraft equipment, and all managed by StorageCraft. We are releasing space at a major data center in the Salt Lake area.
Are you having some kind of redundancy in case your data center goes down?
I'm sorry, that was what?
If you have any redundancy in case your DC goes down.
We have redundancy everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we do have an absolute second facility, the one that I already mentioned. But within the data center itself, our data is copied. I can't even remember. I think it's even more than 3 times. We could have as much as an entire rack go down and not have it affect anything.
How much
for any of our
storage
customers.
capacity do you have in this data center?
Petabytes and petabytes of data available. So yeah, no, we're constantly adding new data.
And it's triply replicated, is that what you said?
At the very least, I think it's even more than that. Yeah. So.
I think I misunderstood, or I had this in my head for some reason. Do you partner with any other data center providers to do local, StorageCraft clouds? Like an Equinix, like a TierPoint, something like that?
So I would say we partner with a number of organizations that offer their own storage on behalf of their clients.
Okay.
So yes, we do. I don't think any of them has been able to build a cloud that's like this.
Okay.
Right?
I didn't know if it's something you licensed OEM to whatever you want to say. I was thinking that earlier.
Yeah. So I mean, we do have a number of OEM partners and who do provide some pretty good storage services, kind of like that, but they don't offer the same quality of service when it comes right down to it. But they're great partners just the same, and we're happy to have them, quite honestly.
So, I mean, is it typical for your customers to select certain critical VMs that they want to do DR with, or is it more like they're just going to take all their VMs in their shop?
They can choose. We're not gonna force anybody to replicate into the cloud if it's something that they don't want. In fact, a lot of our clients will say, listen, the only ones I'm really concerned about is this series of 5 machines, to actually be able to be bootable from. And so they'll sign those up and they'll replicate them into the cloud using the premium service, which is the service level that affords them the virtual machine capability. We have lesser service models. There's our basic and our plus. Basic is literally just storage of your data. There's nothing special there. We'll keep your data when they need it. We'll send it back to you. So we offer that, and sometimes that's all that some clients need, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, we offer that kind of flexibility. That's a great question. Okay, all right, so going back here to the quick little demo. So I've got this machine running. I've confirmed that it's got itself a private network IP address. It's on the private network in the cloud, so step 1, confirmed. I'll also point your attention to the fact that I've got a shared folder here with some music in it. I don't know if anybody here is an AC/DC fan, but I've got a couple songs in here that I've been able to throw in there, and as you can see, they're right there, and this folder is currently being shared. So all that's left for me now, I've got my network set up. So let's go back over here to my networking. I've gone ahead and I've set up my OpenVPN. Notice this is not complicated. Okay, setting up this OpenVPN is not complicated at all. I need to give it a network that represents the network between my PC and the StorageCraft Cloud and this firewall. Okay, so I have to establish a network here. Go ahead and give it a mask, something that makes sense, and then I'm going to start the VPN right down here. But hitting set up VPN, that's going to get things started. Once that VPN is created, then I get to come in and say, all right, who are my users? All right. Now again, this is the OpenVPN option. I'm not showing you the IPsec option, but in my case, you create your users. Bobby. He works out of Denver. He needs an account. He needs to be able to sign into this server. You got Julie that's over there in Colorado Springs. She needs access as well. And then we've got a handful of individuals at corporate that need access, and so we will have to assign them. So again, kind of to your point, there's still some work that has to be set up. All right, rerouting of certain resources is still going to have to happen. All right, but what's great is it's there, it's available to them. So what you'll do then is you'll create these users. A configuration file for OpenVPN is going to be established. When you click on this configuration for the OpenVPN, this file is going to be specific to that user to authenticate that user to the network. You'll simply take this data, copy it out. You're going to copy it into the config file of your OpenVPN client. So that's what these things are right here. I've got OpenVPN installed on my machine. All right, once that's done, you're good to go. Make sure the network is started. All right, you'll notice you'll know the network is started if you click on the firewall WAN and it says that everything is active right here. Once that all lines up, your network is running, you got a VM ready to go. I can now say, all right, let's gain access into this machine. I'm going to go to my OpenVPN client. We're going to connect using my profile. It's going to establish the connection. Give it just a minute. There we are. I'm connected to the server. And at this point, if I want to gain access to those music files, all I need to do is gain access to that server. So there we go.
The GUI is interesting. Do you have like RESTful interfaces to be able to do everything that you just did?
RESTful interfaces?
Yeah.
Oh, the
state.
API type
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
You know, I'm not exactly sure what's all behind there. I haven't really delved too much into the background. I'm the pretty face to the technology. That's kind of what I do. So I'm not exactly sure, but it makes sense that it would be. Yeah.
If it's OpenStack under the hood, logically, it's just a matter of what's exposed to the end client.
It's the GUI, though.
Yeah.
How the GUI translates to the API.
There
So
we
for
go.
the OpenVPN as well. So
Exactly.
OpenVPN, you get like kind of a free tier, and then you have to license it, etc. So do you have limits on the number of OpenVPN connections in, or do you guys just worry about that in the back end, and the customer just connects as many VPN clients as they need?
That's it. Yep.
And similarly for the actual VMs then, so let's say you spun up an environment of 50 VMs or something for a DR. Is there a per VM charge, or is there an included amount of time that you're allowed to run them for?
That's better. Yeah. Okay. So the way that we do the cloud and the boot up of these VMs, each machine that gets replicated into the cloud automatically gets a full 30 days to be used throughout the year. All right, at no additional charge. We'll go ahead. We'll take on the cost of keeping those machines up. Doesn't matter how many you've got. If you're an enterprise, you've got 600 machines. They're sitting in our cloud, and you need to boot them all up. We'll go ahead. We'll carry the cost of running those for a full 30 days throughout the year. Okay, for each one of them. Which means if you want to launch a virtual machine to test for a day or two, that day or two will go against that 30 days, which means throughout the remainder of the year, you have another 28 days to have machines up and running. After that 30 days, we're not going to shut things down. We will say, keep your stuff going, but at that point, we will begin at I think a per hour charge is going to be applied for having those machines up and running at that point. So that's how we do things. So that's a great question. I don't know if anybody was noticing, but during all this question and answering stuff, we were able to connect to try to gain access to that music folder. I just got to throw my my credentials in here. I gave myself a really, I don't know why I did this, complex password. I think I got that right. There we go. I know I didn't. Let's try it one more time. There we go. That did it. And there we are. There's that music folder right there. That's that same folder that we had in the cloud, looking at this machine, all those songs right there. And not only can I view them nicely, but for those of you that, no, let's not run it from there. Let's go ahead, for those of us that really like, there we go. Let's play it with Windows. Oh, no. This isn't it. This isn't right, is it? Oh, yeah, it is. So I'm actually playing this from the cloud, okay? So I've got that machine up and running, and I'm playing my music directly from the cloud at this point. If I wanted to copy the file down to this machine, I could do that. If there's other things that I needed to have set up, I could do that. I have a remote desktop connection into the cloud right here that I can come in, launch applications as I need to, get everything set up, make whatever redirects have to happen. It's all just right there and available to me. So this is what we're doing, okay?
So can I ask a sort of a higher level question?
Sure.
Why are you not kicking people out after 30 days, but why not let them run there forever and ever if they want to and just charge them for it?
That's a question you're going to have to ask Sridhar.
So
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure there's business reasons right now.
We are looking at those options as we go forward.
okay.
Can you tell how long a VM's been running?
Oh, you know what? I believe you can. So again, let's go back to my company here. Let's click on my file. So machine creation date. You know what? It does not from our portal. I've actually never looked into that, but that's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
So not from our portal, obviously, but we do keep track. If you want to find out, give us a call. We can get one of our product managers and say, oh yeah, that machine's been up and running for so long.
I was just thinking, if I get close to that 30 days, where am I at?
You know what?
Someone asked on Twitter.
There we go. See, you're talking to the right people now, because I talk to our product managers on a regular basis, and I can say, hey guys, why can't we see how long the machine's been up? So that's a great question.